This SMG is the real meta when it comes to Destiny 2 PvP. Last weekend in Trials was your last chance to get the Adept Immortal SMG, and a lot of you were grinding for it, myself included, only to get average rolls of this weapon. But fear not for those of you out there that are plagued with bad RNG like myself, because there's an alternative that might very well be better, and that is the Unending Tempest. Last weekend, the top 3 weapons in Trials were as follows: the Conditional Finality with 1.4 million kills, the Unending Tempest with 1 million kills, and the Immortal with 1 million kills, with the Unending Tempest taking the lead by just a few thousand more kills. Now, comparing the two, Unending Tempest to Immortal, you have a 600 RPM in the Unending Tempest, a little bit slower fire rate, a little bit more range, versus the Immortal, which is that 750 RPM full bullet hose style of SMG. But after testing them both out myself for quite some time now, I feel pretty confident in saying the Unending Tempest is the real winner here. Now, keep in mind, for you Warlocks and Hunter mains out there, I did use this for hours, and I was using my Titan with Peacekeepers, which gives you a little bit of an advantage. The Peacekeepers exotic perk reads, reloads stowed submachine guns, and allows you to ready them instantly, so I can swap to it really fast like I have quick draw on. It also improves your handling with submachine guns and your movement while wielding one, so I can use a role that has extremely low handling, but it will still feel really good, which means I can put all the perks and stats into range. And on top of that, I basically have built-in moving target. The last part reads, provides a modified benefit to the airborne effectiveness stat of submachine guns, which is also really nice. I can jump up in the air and my bullets will actually go where I aim, at least with the SMG that is. And that's because it grants a passive 40 airborne effectiveness, gives you 100 handling, and a 0.6 times ready/stow duration multiplier to submachine guns. Also, while holding the SMG, you'll get 50 mobility. It'll also remove the ADS movement penalty to 9% down from 25%. On top of that, if that wasn't good enough, it'll also increase your sprint speed by 6.25% and increase your slide distance by 33%. And lastly, on top of everything, it refills the magazine of submachine guns 1 second after stowing them. So clearly, if you're gonna rock an SMG, the subclass that's the big winner here is using Titan with Peacekeepers. This should come as no surprise to anyone. All of the gameplay you can see here behind me is using the Unending Tempest with Peacekeepers, and needless to say, this thing is super powerful and super fun to use in the Crucible. So if you didn't get the God roll Immortal, definitely grind for the God roll of this. Now let's jump into that exact God roll. First, we're gonna talk about the origin trait because we don't get to change that much. You're gonna go with Nadir Focus, which reads, sustained fire increases accuracy and range. So we're already off to a great start. We have an excellent origin trait that complements the weapon and the way that you want to use it. When you're using an SMG in Destiny 2 for PvP, you're going for max range because the range drop off is pretty steep, and unfortunately when you do get caught out of range, it hurts. So max range is the go-to goal here, and then after that we're going for max stability. So let's look at the first perk column we have here. In the right hand column we have Adrenaline Junkie, Collective Action, Cascade Point, Headstone, Harmony, Frenzy, Fragile Focus, Multi-Kill Clip, Rangefinder, Surrounded, Target Lock, and Tap the Trigger. Now, out of all the perk options there, the only 3 that even seem remotely interesting for PvP are Fragile Focus, Target Lock, and Tap the Trigger. And of those 3, there's a clear winner, which is going to be Target Lock in my opinion. Fragile Focus is a really good perk and will boost your range even more, but it only works until your shields get broken, which can be kind of difficult to do when using a close range weapon like an SMG. Target Lock won't actually increase the weapon's time to kill, but will increase the damage, which effectively also increases the range of the weapon, meaning that when someone is just 1 meter outside of optimal range, the boost to damage from Target Lock will make up for the damage drop off, allowing you to achieve optimal time to kill, which is why we're going with Target Lock in my opinion. But it could also be said that Tap the Trigger is not necessarily a bad perk for this. Next, we'll look at the left hand column, which is going to have Demolitionist, Discord, Dynamic Sway Reduction, Enlightened Action, Gut Shot Straight, Killing Wind, Moving Target, Offhand Strike, Perpetual Motion, Shot Swap, Subsistence, and lastly Over Under. Now there's 4 perks here that stand out usually for PvP, and those are Dynamic Sway Reduction, which is a perk we almost always want to use on auto rifles. Then we have Killing Wind, which is very good on SMGs because it will boost the range, followed up by Moving Target, and lastly Perpetual Motion. Now for mouse and keyboard players out there, I recommend using Perpetual Motion. For controller players out there, I'd recommend Moving Target. And if you don't get either of those perks, and if you end up with a Killing Wind or Dynamic Sway Reduction, you don't necessarily have a bad roll of it. It's just not the God roll in my opinion. Still decent perks though, and still definitely makes the weapon usable. Now let's move on to the magazine. In my opinion, there's only one option here, and that's going to be accurized rounds for the +10 range. For the barrel on this weapon, I'm going to go with small bore, and the reason why is this is going to give a +7 stability and +7 range, and that's going to boost the range up to 80. And then when you have Perpetual Motion proc, this is going to actually give you another +10 range, pushing you up to 90. And then keep in mind that the origin trait is Nadir Focus, which is that sustained fire increases the accuracy and range, which is going to take us from 90 up to probably near max at this point. And then once we're maxed out on that that range, it'll be really important to have as much stability as possible so we can land all of those headshots, which is why with this role with a ranged masterwork as well, we're at 80 like I mentioned, we'll have 48 stability with perpetual motion pushing that up to 58 stability. And then lastly, the mod that we'll put on it will be counterbalance stock. Keep in mind that this is going to leave us with extremely low handling. 23 handling is very low, but it doesn't matter if you're using a Titan Peacekeepers. However, if you are using a Warlock or Hunter, you may want to spec into a little more handling. Either way, I wanted to bring you this PSA to let you know this SMG is super lethal in PvP and is definitely worth grinding for a god roll. You can focus your Crucible engrams at Lord Shaxx to try and get that exact roll. Keep in mind the more resets that you've done, the more perk options you'll have on it, so make sure to inspect each one. You can get up to a maximum of 3 perks in the left hand and right hand column, allowing you a much higher chance of getting that god roll, which you'll definitely need because like I said before, there's 12 perk columns in both the left and the right. So getting the god roll is very difficult. If you haven't reset your Valor at least a few times this season, let me know your thoughts and ideas down in the comments below. What do you think about the Unending Tempest in PvP? Do you think it outmatches the Immortal SMG? If you want to become an expert at all things in Destiny 2, make sure you're subscribed to the channel because that's what we do here. We break down the meta for both PvE and PvP, the strongest weapons, builds, and everything else is a regular thing that we do on this channel. So I appreciate those that are subscribed. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the video and click on the screen here to watch another video from the channel. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Later.